here in our River City, and what better
here at Everything Concealed Carry. And about 90% of the inventory in here is pre-owned with all of their guns. So they've got a lot of great deals. They've got ammo, they've got accessories, they've got add-ons, attachments, whatever you could need, they've got it here at Everything Concealed Carry, and it's all on a nice deal of a price. We've also got a couple of notes that we want to promote today. Boone's Deli, a good partner of Everything Concealed Carry here today, as they've catered and helped with all the catering needs for Everything Concealed Carry. Boone's Deli in J-Town, where you can get all your sandwiches, chicken salads, pasta salads, etc. for dine-in, carry-out, and on the catering side of things as well. Check out Boone's Deli in J-Town. Just had a roast beef sandwich and a chicken salad sandwich. Well, I say sandwich. There's two little sliders from the Boone's Deli Catering. Both of them magnificent with some Zappos chips on the side. Shout out to Boone's. That was very, very good. I'm going to be going back there and trying some things that they've got to offer later on down the road. Joined, like we mentioned at the beginning of the show here, with Matt Childress today. Matt, how are you today, sir?
I'm good. Been an not early day, but earlier. Got to hop on Just the Cats this morning, as I usually do. Got to pregame this Kentucky game that's going on right now. Really tight one in that one. It's been fun to watch so far. Got an exciting first couple games coming up here for the second day of the round of 64, so that's been fun. And, just got done doing St. X, who, it was absolute barn burner, nail biter towards the end. Came down to a final shot of the game, which was exciting to listen to. John Spears, Tony Burke always do a good job on those. So St. X will be playing tomorrow at 11 a.m. For the Final Four So that's exciting for them. I think he said it's the first time they've been there since 1969. I think was the. It's in the 60s. I know for a fact. I think he said 69. I could have misunderstood the last number, but that was fun. It was good to listen to, and we're here on Running with Roman, an extended version of Running with Roman, which I'm excited to get into.
Yes, when you get a close game like that in a state tournament setting, you know that it's probably going to end up a little bit longer than planned, and we're not mad at it. St. X getting the job done. John Spears, Tony Boy getting to continue on with that endeavor for this season where they're trying to go handle business, and excited to see them go and do so. Matt, like you mentioned, there is a lot to discuss around the talks of March Madness. Don't know how well I'm going to be able to do this here. We're going to maybe have to make a change at the break just because the return, I'm going to have to be twisting knobs the entirety of our conversation, and I like to include Matt in. He's the co-host on the show. But, Matt, Louisville gets the job done. They get a victory. They knock off USF for their first tournament win in quite some time, and it was a needed one. It was one that Pat Kelsey needed to get over the hump. He hadn't won a tournament game yet in what was going to be his sixth appearance, and against a team that he was going to be, for the first time in his tournament career, like a true set-in-stone favorite that should be expected to win both on the seeding and the game line. And that's what he did. He got the job done. Cards win 83-79, and there is a lot to look into when you look into the second half of this matchup, Matt, because, with 11 minutes left, we're up 22 points, up 14, 16 points with 7 minutes left, and then it didn't really feel like it was going wrong, but the energy shifted massively, Matt. What were the emotions for you going through that end of the second half there when South Florida started to make a run?
So anybody that knows me or has watched games with me or even heard me talk about them on any of these shows on Big X, I live and die with Louisville sports. I can be the best person to watch it with. I can be the worst person to watch it with. And yesterday you had both sides of that for me. The first half, I'm tweeting out, you'll run these bums up by 50, Cards by 90. Show the country that they made a wrong pick. Like, we talked about it all this week, that this was a situation where Pat Kelsey needed to come out and make a statement. Louisville basketball needed to come out and make a statement. Everybody's counting you out, and you still proved that. I think they were the only 6 seed yesterday to win, which was fun to watch. The only one who didn't get upset. That was great to see. And they did it in dominant fashion for the first half. The second half, offensively and defensively, they still played well, even without Michael Brown. The turnovers, though, the turnovers were unacceptable. It just looked like the team was playing with little to no composure under a high-pressure setting, which a lot of these guys have never won a tournament game before, so they really haven't been. They've been to the big stage, but not in that moment where, teams got you on your heels, all the pressure's on you, you got to go out there and finish. A lot of them have been in that situation. Pat Kelsey, one of them. So I'm never gonna dog on a tournament win. I'm always gonna be happy, especially because it's Pat Kelsey's first. We haven't seen one since 2017, so I'm happy about it. But my gosh, this team was gonna stress me out to the final whistle with the situation that was going on.
Yeah, it was a tough situation to watch there at the end when you're looking at Adrian Woolley, Ryan Conwell, Kobe Rod. It felt like every single guard had a turnover there, and they were taking turns having those turnovers there at the end of that game, just allowing South Florida to gather the momentum. It was 10-second violations. Ryan Conwell, what looked like he was foul baiting, extra aggressiveness, and then not really capable of getting those fouls in a couple of moments, and then losing the ball in those as well. Woolley had one too. It's just it was tough to watch in my playback when I watched it back because I had an interesting watching scenario, Matt. As you know, I was at the Countdown to Kickoff Louisville Kings Fan Fest yesterday, and I was doing my first in-game hosting experience. It was at 4th Street Live, not necessarily an in-game situation, but an in-event situation, you could say. And one of the bars in 4th Street Live has a similar situation to like something like Drake's, where like the windows can be open in the front and the entirety of the bar has an opening now, like a wall more so, like a garage window type of situation. And they opened theirs up at one of these bars right in the middle of the action of where I was hosting, and I got to listen to the game, Matt. The first 20 minutes or so, watching on the cell phone, got there a little bit early, doing some things, paying attention to the game, but I didn't get to watch the second half live at all. I got to catch possessions just as walking up and through. It's not like I'm talking the entirety of the event. And as the event progressed on, just a couple of moments where I got to have some breaks, but this was all happening right as the event was getting started. So it was tough to pay attention like I wanted to. I did get to listen, though. The bar had the sound of the game. I mean, it was like rocketing out of this place. You could hear it like you could hear me pretty much, which was kind of crazy. They had a DJ inside the bar commentating in between timeouts and commercials on the game and the vibe of the game, which I thought was interesting. He came out and introduced himself to me. But when I watched it back, it was like the pressure from South Florida got intensified massively, and we just completely didn't know how to break it down. It's like we forgot how to get the ball up the court. It's like we kept doing little things you should know not to do, and those led to big mistakes, and it was like no-brainer mistakes, rookie mistakes you could call them. And through all of that, McNeely was still, I feel like, knocking shots down, Matt, and it was good to see Isaac McNeely able to, from start to finish finally against a semi-formidable opponent, play at that level, because we haven't really gotten to see that enough this season. There's not nearly as much as we expected to see it this season. He only had 2 turnovers. I believe one of those came in the second half. But the pressure got amped from South Florida. We didn't handle that pressure well, but when we did get it to the half court, we still took good shots. It was just the same story we've seen all pretty much in the second half of the season against good teams. We turned the ball over a couple of times. Those teams capitalize on that. They up the pressure, and then we look like deer in the headlights and cough it up even easier than we had the possessions previous. That is not something you can do going forward against Michigan State if you want any chance to win that game. South Florida was able to get right there, that close into this game, when they shouldn't have really had the opportunity to do so. But this is what happens when you don't have your point guard, Matt. I still think we're capable of special things without Michael Brown, but this one facet, this one aspect to the way Louisville plays at the end of the day, when we do try to slow things down and be methodical in our build-up in the half court in close games with high-pressure defensive teams that are putting a chest on our ball handlers, Michael Brown's the only true point guard on the team who's capable of handling those situations, and he's still a freshman. He didn't handle it all that well. Every single time he was put in those moments, he turned it over and coughed it up a lot too, but he still was able to break his defender down, get by his man, and more times than not make the right read and make the right play. Now we've got guys who are score first combo guards trying to start the offense and get the offense flowing, and can't get by their man because getting double teamed and getting pressured in the half court, and they're just not used to that, like someone who's been seeing it the entirety of their career at their position. So that was something interesting. I kind of worry about that aspect with Florida State with Michigan State, Matt, because they're big, they're large, they are athletic, and they can capitalize on that. They're going to watch that segment in this game in which USF came back, and they're going to do all of those same things, and they're going to try to do them from start to finish. But I want to continue on with the talk here about USF, and bring in the text line as well, too, Matt. I don't have access to it at the current moment. Waiting for my phone to load up here and give me access to it, but 502-414-1450 is the Gameday Men's Health text line. Gameday Men's Health is redefining men's wellness. No shortcuts, just results. Testosterone, peptides, weight loss, and sexual performance therapy. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com, defining a new era in men's health. To get in on all of the action here on the show and up until we get to the Mike Rutherford Show as well. Matt, Frew was what we needed him to be. I want you to kind of go into what you thought about Sananda Frew in his minutes in this game. 25 minutes played, 10 points, 10 rebounds. He did allow a couple of what felt like soft possessions to the Nelson guy, but ultimately he did his thing when we needed him to, Matt.
Yeah, Frew was one. He was kind of a diversive bipolar situation with me on the offensive end. There was a lot of stints in this game where I was like, this guy's just not doing enough. Like, he needs to be more physical. He needs more dominant. And there's some where he did step up to the moment and realized, hey, I just need to get a bucket, and would go up and almost dunk on somebody. You know, like he was very back and forth on the offensive end this game. So, like you said, he did enough. His big moment for me is defensively. I think that he did, by far, one of his better games of the season defensively. He held the paint down. He became that rim presence that we needed him to be, and he was able to stretch it out and shut some guys down on the perimeter when we had to make some quick switching at the end of the game, towards the end whenever they were hitting shots. They started really slow. I think it was like 1 for 10 from 3. I don't have the exact number from the first half in front of me, but I know they were 1 for 7 at one point, and that streak continued. But in the second half, late on, when they were going on that big run, they started to hit shots, and Frew had to end up stepping out around the perimeter and playing some perimeter D, and he did a good job. He got a big block towards the end of the game, which inevitably iced it. And it was. I thought it was a great performance by Frew defensively, and one that we desperately needed for how he'd been playing as of late. I still like the minutes we got from Zoo. Wasn't his best game, but it was good enough to go out there, and he was great on the offensive end. He was incredible on the boards early on in this game, getting 3 immediate offensive boards to start the game to kind of get our momentum going. But that ended up leading way to Frew getting 10 rebounds in this game, which was huge, a steal and a block. I think this is one of his better games, and if we can have this Ananda Frew throughout the run in the tournament, and especially against Michigan State on Saturday, who is going to be extremely physical, like you said, with a lot of size, then we have a really good chance in that game, one that I think a lot of people are not expecting us to have.
It's one of those situations, Matt, where we don't have a chance against Michigan State unless that is the case, in my opinion. I think that's absolutely a must for Zugas and Frew and Kanai to all be and play as big as and aggressive as they are physically capable of. Because when I watched that, I get they went up against North Dakota State. North Dakota State's big. North Dakota State is one of those teams that I'm not going to say we would struggle against, but they could run with us with their size and their ability to guard. At least early on in the season. At this point now, I think we could beat this NDSU team by, double digits. But early in the season, this is a team that would have been capable of beating us. And they got to a point where they completely handled them in parts of this game, breaking them down both with their guards and their bigs, Matt. So I know that this could be an extremely stagnant Michigan State offense. But when you look at some of the things we did there at the end of that USF game, you can't gift a team like that possessions, right? They're going to try to play a little bit slower if they can in the half court if they need to, but they're going to run in transition when they get the opportunity to. And that was very prevalent due to how many deflections and how many broken plays they can force that lead to long shots, 50-50 balls and whatnot. So we cannot perform like that at the end of this USF game, pretty much in any segment of this Michigan State game. Obviously, you can turn the ball over and win a basketball game, but you can't have multiple guards having multiple turnovers if you want a chance to beat this MSU team. And that's what we saw at the end of that USF team. In the end of that USF game, they just weren't able to capitalize on it. It felt like we were right there capable of giving that game away, but we still got some plays when we needed them down the line, some free throw shooting when we needed it to, outside of Sananda Frew not covering the 4.5 points there for us, Matt. That kind of aggravated me a little bit, but we will be having a couple of special guests today to come on and chat about the Cards and also chat about what their expectation is going into this next matchup against Michigan State. Hopefully we can get Will Wigington on, host, owner of the LouisvillePost.com, where he writes all about Louisville football and basketball. Also, maybe going to get Rashawn Myers on here, the Run-In with Roman show today as well. We've got the YouTube chat live. No video camera option, obviously, as we are on the remote show here at Everything Concealed Carry, where you can get all of your gun and weapon needs settled here. Plenty of pre-owned in their inventory. 90% of their inventory pre-owned with plenty of deals on a lot of their weapons. Come and check them out. If you want to also check out Mike Rutherford and I, we'll be out here till 5:30. Joining us now on the Call Your Law Firm hotline, we've got Rashawn Myers, host of the Wake Up 502 radio show every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 right here on the Big X 96.1 1450. Rashawn, Cards get the victory, 79 to 80, 83 to 79 over the South Florida side. We now know we will be seeing Michigan State tomorrow. What are the overall feelings and emotions over Pat Kelsey getting his first tournament win?
Hey, man, I am so happy that both Coach Kelsey and the University of Louisville got that monkey off their backs. I mean, it was one of those things that was a long time coming. It's one of those things that the amount of apprehensiveness and nervousness and, people just coming into this game, everybody wanted to talk about how everybody was picking South Florida and how they were just so nervous. And then you have the news about Michael Brown not playing. And then you have people coming out saying, oh, Louisville can't win without Michael and blah, blah, blah. And I never bought into that. Everything that I saw about, the way Louisville had been playing, just looking at what South Florida was as a team, I felt Louisville was, pretty well favored. Rome, as you know, when we talked on Breakdown 502, I thought Louisville was a much too big of a physical. They had too much of a physical advantage, a size advantage, that I thought they were going to get it done. Did things get a little crazy after they got up 23 points? Yes, but at the end of the day, Louisville got it done. So I'm glad that they got like that. I think that's the biggest thing is you get that Kelsey can't win in the tournament moniker out of there. You get that Louisville hasn't won a tournament game since 2017 thing out of there. So to get all those things done, I think that's the biggest thing is it's relief. We can go ahead and put that up, and now you can just focus on being, trying to get back to being the basketball program that Louisville's always been. It
feels good to get those two things settled and put away. Those were two large of talking points for a fan base. I mean, for an organization like Louisville to have to overcome and withstand. I feel like at the end of the day, we know what the standard is here, and the fact that everyone gets to point at us and say, well, they haven't done anything that points to their standard since 2017, and their coaches has never done anything like that. So why should we believe Louisville is capable of anything like that going forward? And to know that the beginning of how those kinds of conversations start is now gone feels very good. And look, Rashawn, Ty Golden hadn't won a tournament game ever, and look what he did last year in his first ever run after the first win. So it's possible. You never know. There's something special that can happen with any coach in this tournament because they all are good teams, and you have to have a certain level of ability as a coach to be getting there in the first place. We know that Pat Kelsey has some strengths. It's all about him mitigating those weaknesses with the personnel that he does have out there in his philosophy. Needs him to be able to pinpoint those, and that's what we're going to be chatting with Rashawn here about today, because Rashawn, up 22 with 11 minutes left to go is not the kind of game you should ever be winning by 4, in my opinion, at the college level. I don't care what the two tiers of the teams are. Why does Louisville seem to continuously turn the ball over in these end-of-game situations? At first, it felt like it was a close game like scenarios where it happened due to the pressure maybe, due to not being there without your point guard very often. What's up with this now? Because it's showing we can be up against a team we're capable of beating no matter what and still allowing this to happen.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the way I look at it is this, should you ever, when you're up that big, give up the lead the way Louisville did? Absolutely not. I can't remember, Roman, what game it was earlier in the season, but there was a game earlier this year that Louisville played in, and Louisville was up big, and do you remember that game earlier in the year? There was a game where a teammate got into a press and came all the way back, and people thought, oh my God, everybody's going to press Louisville from here on out. Do you remember what game that was?
Let me think.
It was early in the year. It was a game that Louisville won, but I can't remember what game it was that some small school, Louisville ended up winning the game, but everybody was just so worried that Louisville was going to get pressed by everyone from there on out.
Was that the Eastern Michigan game?
No, we blew Eastern Michigan out.
Because they made a decent run at the end.
It was Ohio.
It may have been. I can't remember who it was, but you guys remember that game. Whichever game it was a game. I think it was a November game. I think it was one of the last games of November.
I think it was Ohio where we let the Jackson Pavletsky kid go off for 28 points.
Yes, that's exactly the game it was, yes. Ohio made this big, frenetic comeback. They got into a press. Louisville couldn't handle the pressure, turned it over a ton, and Ohio ended up making that game a lot closer after they were down. Thank you, Roman. And I look at the finish of the game yesterday, and I think about that in the same terms that I do that Ohio game. What South Florida did was a lot of what Ohio did, where it wasn't necessarily a structured press. It was pretty much okay, we can't defend this team in the half court, so we're just going to go out, go ball to the wall, and just kind of do anything to try to get a steal. Everybody, if you get an opportunity to run from the blind side, double from the blind side, triple from the blind side, if you leave guys open down the court, so what? We just need to just blindly go for steals. And that's kind of what South Florida did. It worked out for them the same way it did for Ohio. The one thing I'll say is I don't think necessarily just because that happened in that game when USF had a certain type of personnel that now I'm worried that that's something Michigan State's going to do. Is that, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or do you at least understand what I'm saying?
I do. I get it for sure. Because Michigan State, I mean, they're going to watch that last 4 or 5 minutes of this game, and they're going to try to replicate as much of that as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I think they can, but the personnel's different. Like USF has nothing but 4, 5, 6 very small, fast, athletic guys, so they can do that. Michigan State doesn't necessarily have that setup. They aren't a big physical team. They aren't a small, quick team like that. So I don't think necessarily they'll be able to do a lot of what we saw USF does, but it is still just a reminder that University of Louisville has got to do something about having more, relying on only having one true ball handler and playmaker is ridiculous. You just can't do that. You can't have, in the year one, Coach Kelsey basically put all his eggs in the basket of Chucky Hepburn. Thankfully, Chucky stayed healthy, and they were able to survive with just having a single true ball handler. I know they thought Corin Johnson may be able to do that, but seeing what Corin Johnson did this year for Ole Miss, I don't think that necessarily would have worked out. And then you have this year, he put all his eggs in the basket of Michael Brown Jr. and thought Kobe Rogers would be good enough, and thought that, Ryan Conwell could handle the ball good enough without really going out and recruiting a true second point guard. Louisville's got to get that taken care of moving forward. But, I don't think that press by USF is going to be something that we see replicated by Michigan State, honestly.
Michigan State, they're built so differently that they don't have to press. They can kind of just play us in the half court. They'll have lineups that go 6'6", 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", right? At 4 different players on the court. That can be really, really tough to deal with. And I think that when you also deal with that, there is the I feel like the how do you say it? The opposite factor into being built with a bunch of guys with size like that is that you can screen these guys. They're not the most agile. They're not the best at getting around screens. They're not going to want to run around and chase you all that much. But to do that, you have to space the floor. Everyone has to be on the same page, and you have to constantly be getting the ball into the paint and moving defenders around, and you have to be screening and sealing off. All those little kind of things are going to be the things that I think Louisville has to buy into to prevent those issues like you saw at the end of games earlier in the season and like you did against USF yesterday. We're going to go to a break here. We'll have a lot more of talk to come. We're going to have Rashawn Myers on the other side as well. We're going to get the conversation back going with Matt Childress. Got a couple more questions for them centered around what we should expect tomorrow in this matchup against Michigan State and just how that should look on the floor between these two teams. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Continue to listen with us. Shout out to the YouTube listeners that we've got as well. Feel free to send your comments on the YouTube chat or on the Gameday Mens Health text line at 502-414-1450. And we'll be right back after this here on the Big X.
Swing into the action at Park Mammoth Golf Club, a breathtaking and challenging course just off I-65 in Park City, Kentucky. Stay in the know with the Park Mammoth Golf Club app. Get course updates, special offers, GPS, gift cards, and easy tee time bookings. After your round,
by my co-host Matt Childress and special guest Rashawn Myers as we take you guys up till 2:30 to the start of the Mike Rutherford Show in on the Big X airwaves a little bit early today and with a couple of program notes. We're out here at Everything Concealed Carry today. Guns, gear, deals, it's everything at Concealed Carry with over 1,000 firearms in stock. We've got what you're looking for fast. SIG, Smith & Wesson, HK, Glock, plus the best selection of used guns in Louisville. Over 90% of their inventory is used guns on great deals. Parts, build kits, magazines, cases, all right here. Looking for premium Kimber, Dan Wesson, Wilson Combat. Selling, we pay cash for guns, and we always have specials. Don't wait, get in today. Everything Concealed Carry, 10306 Taylorsville Road in the heart of J-Town, where Louisville comes to buy. And we're also going to continue chatting here about what we've got in store for today. Louisville and their outcome against USF yesterday, getting the victory, getting over the hump of a tournament win, first one since 2017, and the first of Pat Kelsey's coaching career. We've got UK in action right now, up 46-44 over Santa Clara. Rashawn, Matt, I've got UK minus 2.5, and they've been sticking right there just about all day. What do we think about Santa Clara keeping it close? Is just a matter of time before UK pulls away here?
I mean, I picked Santa Clara to beat Kentucky on my quote-unquote bracket of integrity. So I'm not surprised that it's close. Santa Clara was one of the teams that I actually watched a lot of, watching those late-night West Coast Conference games. And I like their makeup, and just this Kentucky team has struggled with teams that have multiple ball handlers that can also shoot it. And Santa Clara has that. So it actually doesn't surprise me. I figured the game was a toss-up. I was 50-50 on whether I was going to pick, Santa Clara to win or not. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me, man. Like, they're a good basketball team.
Matt, you've been hearing about this UK-Santa Clara game all week, I'm sure. Probably even asked your opinion on it a few times. Is this any surprise to you, UK up 2 as we are a few minutes into the second half?
It's not really surprising me. Just like Rashawn, I actually, on my bracket, picked Santa Clara to win this game. This is one where Kentucky just seems to play down to their opponent and up to their opponent at every single turn of game, turn of match, whatever you want to call it. Every single time they play somebody, they play exactly to what their skill set is. And it's a 2-point game right now as they go to a TV timeout. And Santa Clara, who is known to be a very efficient 3-point shooting team, is only 4 for 17 at the moment. So if they're able to keep it close without the shots going in, it's one of those what's the law of averages. Is eventually the shots are going to start falling for them, and Kentucky is doing a great job of keeping this game close with them, taking some really, really questionable shots. Kind of just playing with their food out there. So, no, I'm not extremely surprised with the way Kentucky's playing right now that this game is close. And it's been an interesting one to watch.
I'm not surprised it's close either. I do have Kentucky winning on my bracket. I did bet Kentucky minus 2.5 today. And it was an official punch yesterday on the Ticket Puncher show from 5:30 to 6 p.m. right here on the Big X. We'll have a couple of other punches that we can get into and discuss. I want to get your all's opinions on some other matchups because, fellas, we had 4 double-digit seeds win their first-round matchups. I believe the first time that's ever happened at once, with VCU with one of the best comebacks we've seen in that 6-11 matchup. Let's get into this. Rashawn, High Point beats Wisconsin. Texas beats BYU. Texas A&M beats St. Mary's. And VCU does come back to beat UNC like we mentioned. Which of these 4 was the most surprising to you?
Hey, Rome, I'm going to tell you what. I picked both High Point and VCU to win on my bracket, so I want to pat myself on the back.
Go ahead.
Getting that done. But, no, I think that, the North Carolina game, just from the way the game went, like actually watching it, even though I did pick VCU to win the game, the way North Carolina was up and dominating that game, I cannot believe that they allowed VCU to get all the way back in that game. North Carolina just, they're aggressive. These teams, it's kind of like the same thing that happened with SMU when they played Miami of Ohio in the first 4 game. It's like these teams have these big physical advantages down low, but they get bored with taking the ball to the basket and just using their size advantage to just wear a team out over 40 minutes. They want to get cute. They want to start shooting threes. They want to, get up and down and get fancy, and it ends up biting them in the butt. And that's one of the reasons I give Coach Kelsey a lot of credit, because Louisville took advantage of what they had, which was their size, their athleticism, their ability to get to the rim and then kick it out for wide open shots because they forced help down low. And that's one of the things that you have to do in these early matchups versus these smaller schools is use that size advantage, because that's usually the difference between high major and mid and low major teams is the size aspect. And if you don't utilize that size aspect and you make yourself smaller by shooting jump shots and shooting fadeaways and making bad passes, that's when these upsets happen.
I like watching these upsets happen. It's fun watching teams who haven't been up against certain levels of talent all season long. And, you know, when you look at the lower levels of talent and what they go up against, it's different play styles at these levels because they have to have that. They have different personnel roster build-ups, different makeup of their roster construction forces them to play different ways. And it throws some of these better, more experienced teams going up against better talent off at times. And it's nice to see the madness unfold and break all those brackets that didn't have these. I had Texas beating BYU. I didn't have Texas A&M beating St. Mary. Or no, I had Texas A&M beating St. Mary's, but I didn't have BYU beating Texas, even though I felt like that was a game that could very well have gone that way. I caught VCU beating UNC. We got a little lucky there with the way that UNC just gave them that game, as Rashawn mentioned. And then High Point, I mean, what's the kid's name, Matt, that he hit his first two in that game, a finger roll on the fast break with the momentum shifting there as High Point knocks off Wisconsin. Which of those four games surprised you, Matt?
I mean, I think the obvious one is the High Point game, but to me, it honestly wasn't. The most surprising one to me was the Texas A&M St. Mary's output. I thought that St. Mary's would put up a lot bigger of a fight. Wisconsin High Point was honestly almost exactly what I expected to happen, because Wisconsin this season, it plays just like I spoke about Kentucky plays, that they can play with the best teams in college basketball, but they also, unfortunately, can play with the worst teams in college basketball. I think High Point is a great team. They're one of the best offensive teams in the country. But at the same time, it was one of those where if Wisconsin could get past High Point, you knew that they were going to do well against a Michigan or against an Arizona later on. A lot of people had them in their Sweet 16 to an Elite Eight just because of the way they've played up to competition. But you had to get past High Point. And these guys on High Point, I mean, were pulling from everywhere. The logo, the hash mark, wherever they wanted. And were just having their way with Wisconsin down the stretch. It was a great game. But, no, the St. Mary's Texas A&M game was extremely surprising to me. I had St. Mary's winning that game. As much as fun as buckyball is to watch, and as hot as that team can get it sometimes, I just figured the balanced offense of St. Mary's and that great defense they have would have been a little bit too much for Texas A&M to be able to speed up. And St. Mary's likes to play that slow, methodic offense. And it's easier to slow teams down than it is to speed teams up. But buckyball prevailed.
Buckyball did prevail.
And it surprised me a lot.
I like seeing these kinds of things.
I'm going to put it like this. I never trust the Big Ten. I don't know when we're going to figure this out, but every time the Big Ten never, like a Big Ten, like Ohio State loses, Wisconsin loses. At some point, like I know Clark Kellogg picks a Big Ten team to win every year. This year, I think he picked Michigan to win it all in his little bracket prediction before the tournament started. But the one thing that we've got to just believe in is the fact that the Big Ten is going to choke every year. I think that's the lesson to be learned.
What do you guys have on the upset docket today or on tomorrow's, if you have anything? I know you guys both picked Santa Clara to upset Kentucky. Is there any other ones you wanted to get out there, Rashawn, that you have your eye on?
You know, most of my upsets were yesterday. I feel like today is going to be very chalky. Usually in the tournament, you'll have one day where it's kind of crazy, and then the other day where it's kind of calm or relaxed. It feels like today is going to be a lot more chalked. Matt, I don't know if you have one specifically. Like I could see Missouri beating like Miami in like a 7-10 type of deal, but I don't think there's going to be any big, humongous upsets unless Santa Clara gets this done against Kentucky.
What do you got, Matt?
I have two. I don't think they're very surprising to anybody. I have Utah State beating Villanova today. I just don't believe in that Villanova team coming out of the Big East. That conference is just way too weak. And the other one I have is I have UCF beating UCLA. As hot as UCLA has looked right now, it's just one where even if I know Donovan Dennis projected to play, he's not going to be 100%. And I think that without that guy playing his best basketball of the season and Sky Clark just lighting the scoreboard up, it seems not great. There's not a great basketball team without them too. I know Mick Cronin is a pretty good coach, barring the off-court stuff, but that's probably my big one is UCF taking over UCLA.
I like that
Good
one.
call. Another Big Ten choke.
I do. You know, it's interesting you say that, Rashawn. TCU was down, or Ohio State was up pretty big on TCU, weren't they? Was that another comeback victory in that one?
It was the other way around. TCU was up big, and Ohio State made a run late.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. And they weren't able to get the job done there. We'll have Clemson and Iowa today. I have Iowa beating Clemson. I don't necessarily think that's some massive upset or anything like that, but I do think that Iowa does have just more offensive firepower right now than Clemson does, and that should prevail in a first-round matchup like that. We've got Texas Tech and Akron in action. Texas Tech up 40-35 over Akron. Akron looking like they may have a chance to cover in this game here. Arizona in action as well, up 15-4 over Long Island in that 1-16 seed matchup. We'll have a couple of other games getting underway while we are on the airwaves here today. Looks like we'll have a 2:50 p.m. start time on the Iowa State-Tennessee State game. That'll be on here as well when Mike Rutherford gets going. And we'll keep you guys updated on all of the games that we've got in action that we'll have in store for today. While we've still got Rashawn Myers joining us as a special guest, host of the Wake Up 502 radio show from 9 to 11, I want to mention again we are out here at Everything Concealed Carry. Want to give a quick shout out to Boone's Deli in J-Town, where you can get all of your sandwiches, chicken salads, pasta salads, and much more for your dine-in, carry-out, or catering needs. I just had a roast beef and chicken salad slider that we had catered over here at Everything Concealed Carry from Boone's Deli, and it was very, very good. Definitely going to be trying that sometime in the future and seeing what else they've got to offer. Fellas, Michigan State, Louisville, we know that is our matchup. We know that we'll be in action tomorrow at 2:45. Rashawn, after what you saw from Michigan State yesterday over North Dakota State, Matt and I kind of chatted about just more so the issues that we had in our game against South Florida at the end. If you replicate that against this Michigan State side with the turnovers when you're trying to play a little bit slower there and allowing a couple of offensive rebounds when you don't need to, Michigan State's going to be able to beat you. There's a lot of great things we did in that first half. I do think we relied very heavily on McNeely and Ryan Conwell. I think we're going to need somebody to step up even more offensively if we want a chance against Michigan State. But when you think about the overall look into this game and what's Louisville going to have to do to get the job done, what are the first couple things that come to mind?
I mean, yeah, for me, I think the biggest thing is, like you said, Rome, is just taking care of the ball. Like I said, I think the challenge is going to be a lot different. I don't think this is going to be a situation where you're going to see Michigan State coming out doing a bunch of all-out pressure, full-court pressing. I don't think you'll see that. But, you know, they go 6'10", 6'11", at the 4 and the 5. So I think that the challenge of Michigan State is going to be a lot more of what the challenge was when you played against Miami. It's going to be about, you know, being a man on the boards, being able, you know, we're going to need all 5 guys going to the defensive backboards. I think that's going to be the biggest key. Now, the fact that Louisville played a lot better in the post against Miami in both games as well as SMU, that gives me hope that they will be ready for that physical challenge a lot more than they have been earlier in the year. But you know, that it's going to be taking care of the ball. Like, I'm going to need to see Ryan Conwell have a good game. Like, Ryan Conwell has not played a good, efficient basketball game. You know, I mean, I know he put up the 31 points in the big game, in the big NC State win, you know, where he and Michael just went crazy. But Ryan Conwell, it's been a lot of good, but then also a lot of bad with it. He'll have a decent scoring game, but he's going to shoot bad, or he's going to be okay in terms of his total numbers, but he's going to have 4 or 5 turnovers. Like, that's what we can't see. Louisville needs to take care of the ball. He and Adrian Willie both. And I think if you can take care of the ball, be solid from the perimeter. I don't think you have to be great from the perimeter, because this Michigan State team is definitely not the most consistent shooting team. I think they're going to have a shot. This is the reason why I was happy that Michigan State was the team that Louisville got in terms of their 3 seeds compared to some of the others, like Gonzaga or Illinois or even Virginia. I thought that this Michigan State team is definitely the most beatable because they are so inconsistent shooting, but Louisville's going to have to compete on the backboards, and they're going to have to take care of the basketball. If they can do that, they'll have a shot to pull this upset Saturday.
Matt, what do you think?
I'm right there with Rashawn. I think that a lot of us, when going into this USF game without Mike Hell, we knew that Adrian Woolley would have to step up. Unfortunately, he didn't have his best game in that one, so we saw other guys step up. Like Isaac McNeely had a really great game. I even thought that some minutes with Kenai Roos out there, he showed that he can use his size against some people, even though he didn't light up the box score or anything. Frew had a great game defensively. It's one where this has to be a next man up mentality at every level of our game. Ryan Conwell definitely needs to take care of the ball a little bit better. I know that you guys mentioned that he was doing a little bit of kind of foul baiting whenever they're getting their pressure up, trying to draw those fouls. But late in that game, you have to have the composure and the understanding of how the whistle's going in that moment where the officials are going to let you play. And we already said it, Michigan State is going to try and take advantage of some of that stuff. They're going to come out hyper-physical. They're going to come out and try and play with a lot of pace because the script is out against Louisville, how to make them uncomfortable. And it's one where you need a game from Ryan Conwell to feel a little comfortable in here when handling the ball because Adrian Woolley's not going to be able to be the primary point guard moving forward. But at the same time, they did a pretty great job for about 75% of this game of swinging the rock, getting guys open, getting good looks from behind the arc, and as well in the paint. If you can play this game similar to the way you did Miami the first time around, even the second time around, I feel like the second time around was even still just as good. You just didn't hit as many shots where – yes, you're probably going to get beat on the glass. You're probably going to get beat physically, but if you can keep it almost near neutral to the point where it's almost like there's not a huge advantage, you have the better shooters on the floor. You have the better offense, I think, by a pretty wide margin. You can take advantage of this game. You're going to get open looks against this team. They're not going to shoot at a very high clip. You have a chance to, like I said, if you could at least keep it neutral on the physical side of this basketball game, you're going to have a really good chance to win.
I'm with you, Matt. I think the way to do that is going to be Sananda Frew. It's going to be Kenai Roots. It's going to be Evangelos Zougaras. You're going to need them to be all-out aggressive killers in this game at every facet if you want an opportunity to win here. One thing that I am kind of worried about is just the overall length and size when we seem to get into these mindsets. It's three-point shot or it's layup. If you don't get one of those, you got to pass it out and we can find a better look. There might not always be a better look against this Michigan State team. And the key is to just take good shots and to find those good possessions. You're going to have a lot to deal with this Cooper guy down low who has been able to wreak havoc all season long for the Spartans, averaging 11.7 rebounds. He did have, I believe, 20 and 10 yesterday against this NDSU side who, on the other side there, he was going up against the 6'11 guy in his matchup. So it kind of feels a little bit like a situation where we don't necessarily have a matchup for him to negate what he's going to be able to do on the defensive end, but I think Sananda Frew should be able to score him just with the overall speed and agility advantage that Sananda will have over the big Cooper kid. Cohen Carr, great defender. Kohler, he was defending and scoring at a pretty high level yesterday as well. The Scott kid, he's kind of the energy guy, the freshman. He's not the biggest, but he's long. And then Fears, who seems to have a great understanding of the Izzo offense. The key, I think, in this one, fellas, is just going to be wanting it more, right? You have the offense. If you can go out there and not settle for those long, deep threes when you get bodied up a couple of times and know that you can get to the basket against this Fears kid and against a couple of other these guys and guards that will come off the bench, you can take advantage. I think you can keep this game close. They're not going to shoot an insane amount of three-pointers, but they will have a couple of guys who do knock some down. You just can't leave guys open. If you don't leave them open, they'll try to be methodical in their build-up. They'll try to go down low. They'll try to get on the block. They'll try to get on the free throw line. You just have to defend without fouling and take care of the basketball, and you cannot get massively overworked on the rebound battle, especially not on the offensive glass. If they get second chance looks and those offensive rebounds coming down to a big and they go back up and they're getting free throws and the game's slowing down and going in their favor and their momentum in that way, that's not the kind of game we want. I think we want to run in this one. We want to keep them running, and we want to keep them making hectic decisions as much as possible. You just have to take care of the basketball when you're playing like that. You can play Louisville basketball and beat this Michigan State team, or at least keep it close, I think. Without Michael Brown Jr., it's going to be tough to make those tough shots when we do have those possessions that are kind of broken plays. But ultimately, Ryan Conwell, McNeely in that performance, if you can shoot like that, you're going to give yourself a chance. Getting Frew off the bench with that kind of energy is nice. I think you probably don't see as many minutes for Kobe Rogers in this game. I think you probably see an uptick in Kenai Roos. How would you like the rotations to look in this one, Rashawn?
I think that, unfortunately, especially if Mike Hill's definitely not playing, you're going to need all hands on deck, because I do think that, somebody's going to pick up some fouls, whether it's Woolley, whether it's Conwell. Somebody's going to pick up a couple of fouls early. So I think that, Louisville's not necessarily going to have the luxury of not playing any of these guys. It's going to have to be where, whoever's in there, you're just going to have to just man up. Tom Izzo makes a point of making sure that every guy on his team plays physical, second, third efforts. Louisville's going to have to meet that. I would love to see a lot of Kenai Roos in this game, honestly. This is a game where I think, once again, the big lineup of having Roos, Hadley, and then either Zoo or Frew or Khalifa in there together is going to be they're going to need to use that. I don't think this is a game where you can play 30 minutes plus of Javon Hadley at the 4. I just don't see that as a recipe for success, unless you are getting just one of those generational rebounding games from an Adrian Woolley. If Woolley can come down there and rebound like a maniac from the point guard position, then maybe you can stick with the 4 smaller guys around one big. But other than that, we're going to need, Kenai Roos and these other guys. You know what? I would like to see maybe some Zoo and Frew in there together. Roman, I know that's not really been a thing, and they've been using a lot of Zoo at the 5, but I think that Zoo is agile enough and good enough defensively to where he can defend from the 4.
I'd like to see Frew stretch the floor at the 5 as well offensively if you get the opportunity. I think you can kind of dare him to let Frew shoot if it comes down to them giving, 4 or 5 feet of space trying to play help defense on Zugris. If he tries to take advantage of the power forward matchup that he will maybe have he'll have the weight advantage in, definitely, especially if it's the Scott kid that he's going up against down low. Zugris could take advantage of someone like that. And then at that point, I think you throw Frew out on the 5, keep that out there for 2 or 3 minutes, see how it works, see if you can get a couple of Frew shot attempts on some dives to the basket from some passes from guards attacking the rim. I think that could be just an overall way to make sure you've got what it takes to be even, like Matt mentions, on the physicality with the defensive glass. And I don't think that you really lose all that much if it's someone like, if it's Adrian Woolley, Conwell, McNeely, and then a Zugris and a Frew, or even a Hadley in that spot with McNeely and a Conwell for some minutes to give Woolley a rest and to just play bigger. Or if one of those guards does get in foul trouble, I'd like to see that as well. So that's just another option there. I think that I'd like to see some differences with our size, because this is a Michigan State team. Louisville at times has been at disadvantages when they have teams that are just way more physical than we are, right? Miami doesn't necessarily have a crazy size advantage over us, but they're more physical. That's why you saw them win in the rematch setting. And then sometimes there's that overall size advantage that Louisville just can't necessarily compete with. When you look at a team like Arkansas outside of ACUF, every single player on the floor is bigger than their matchup, and we can't really overcome that. This is a Michigan State side that does have both. So Louisville's going to have to think outside the box. Pat Kelsey's going to have to dig deep in that bag and do some things differently. We've got to go to break here. Hopefully we've still got Rashawn on the other side. Haven't confirmed that with them yet, but Matt Childress and I here on the Running with Roman show are going to continue to go, starting things out when we come back at the regular start time of 2 o'clock. Hopefully we'll get some more live viewership in and some comments and text in on the Gameday Mens Health text line. Stay tuned. The Running with Roman right back on the other end with Roman Kelly, Matt Childress, and Rashawn Myers as our special guest right here on the Big X. Welcome back into the Run-In with Roman show here on the Big X, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM, Big X Sports Radio. Roman Kelly, Matt Childress, taking you down till 2:30, right to the start of the Mike Rutherford show. A lot we've been getting into. Was just joined by Rashawn Myers, the host of the Wake Up 502 radio show right here on the Big X from 9 to 11 a.m. every Saturday morning. Matt, let's get into it. There's a lot to discuss. There's a lot I'd still like to chat about. We didn't get much into my experience yesterday doing the in-game hosting. I did have the opportunity to meet a couple of Louisville players and get that first gig experience out of the way before the first game next week, which felt like it was, I had to get the nerves out. I didn't want to go into the game experience with the very first time with that being my first experience. So it was nice to go out there and be around some fans, but not too many at once, and still do a lot of the similar things that I was going to be doing. Got to meet Jason Bean, the quarterback, Steele Chambers, the linebacker, Keaton Ellis, the free safety, and Willie Tyler, the offensive lineman, along with Coach Redmond. Officially got to meet Coach Redmond, which was cool. Parents were down there, girlfriend was down there. So that was a fun experience. Matt, didn't ask you much about how your evening went yesterday.
It was fun. It was good. I forgot, I think both of us forgot that we were going on during the Louisville game yesterday, so there were no shows. I was supposed to fill in for you because of the Louisville Kings fan rally that you got to host yesterday. By the way, Roman Kelly looked like the best-looking guy out there in his full-on Kings gear. Dude had me sweating. I was getting nervous talking to him. It was like talking to a celebrity, but it was cool. I liked that 4th Street Live kind of filled out for it, and they had a lot to do. Meeting the players was really cool. Got to talk to, some of the marketing people. Maybe we get a little something going on with our 3-man front going next year. Might be a little teaser there for season number 2. And, it seems like they're fully bought in for season number 2, which is exciting as well. But it was cool. It was fun. Got to stop in there talk to you for a little bit, talk to them for a little bit. Came home. Really I just watched ball basically all day long. Did take the girlfriend out to dinner. Went out to a local sushi place right down the street from the studio. It's one of my favorite restaurants in Louisville. It's really good. You can probably look up what I'm talking about. I won't, no sponsors, so I can't say it on the air, but really good, a lot of fun. Always like big sushi guy. Always enjoy going out there with her and having a good time with the girlfriend. And then we came home to the dogs. I just watched basketball all day. It was a great night.
Love that. Love that you got to have some sushi, hang out with the girlfriend, watch some basketball, and spend some time after not having to do as much radio work yesterday as we normally would have to do on a Thursday. So that's always nice, especially when you've got March Madness happening on the side as well. Let's look into what else we've got here on the docket today, Matt, because there's a few other topics that I wanted to get into. We have some other matchups, of course, that I'd like to discuss as well. Well, Matt, there's a couple things I thought you were going to bring into the show as well. Do you want to bring those up?
I actually wanted to ask your opinion on something. So last night, Luka drops his 60 ball in an 8-game win streak for the Lakers.
100 points in the last 2 games for Luka. Just throwing that out there. MVP.
What was the ridiculous quote Bam Adebayo brought up? He's like, "I've been in that situation, Luka. I know what you're talking about." Did you see this?
Say that again?
Bam Adebayo had some ridiculous quote. I can't remember. Do you remember what it was?
Yes. He said, basically, I know, to paraphrase, Bam was like, "Yeah, I saw Luka was going crazy. I know what it's like to be in that mode and to know that you can't really be stopped, and it's fun to do. Not the same as getting 80, but definitely a great performance from Luka." Basically, just talking like he's, I don't even know the word for it. Like,
he's a little chesty out there.
He's chesty, flaunting himself, because I don't even know for what reasons. You scored 83, great. You're on a team that's not looking like they're on path for much success. Your 83 points is highly criticized with lots of negative connotations around it. So just talking as if you could talk about a Luka performance and talk down on it because of your 83 points when, Luka's leading the NBA in points per game, leading the NBA in total points, and is overachieving with the expected record at this time of the season for the Lakers. So he's in the MVP race. Yeah, his 60 was an impressive 60. Your 71, 72 points and then foul baiting and not playing basketball to get up to 83 was whatever.
It was funny because this isn't even the first quote he said this week that's gotten some major talk on my Twitter timeline. Did you see what he said the other day?
No. What did he say?
A couple days ago, it was after their last matchup. I forgot who they played, But he basically went on and talked about how he thought the officiating was questionable, and he thought that, they got some pretty bad calls out there. And then the entire replies were just like, dude, you shot 43 free throws in your best game of your career. I don't know if you're the one to be talking about officiating right now. And against a team that was fouling on purpose to get you more shots at the free throw line. I think it's the worst man to be talking about free throws and bad calls at the moment.
Yeah, don't know why he would do that at all. That's pointless talk from Bam Adebayo. But yeah, he was kind of basically trying to talk as if he's got some kind of standing now in the league due to the performance he had, and gets to kind of judge the other performances that are great in the league that happened after that. I don't know. Weird tone in his voice when talking about that, but that's what NBA players do. He's gotta stand on business, as the kids say, Matt.
I also wanted to ask you, so after the event that you hosted last night downtown,
yes,
what's the, can you give us a little inside speak? What's the outlook looking for the game day host looking forward? What's on the docket for old Roman Kelly down the stretch?
I mean, it's going to be intense. There's going to be a lot of fans there. I'm going to be doing all kinds of interviews, going to be chatting with coaches and probably not players during the games, but staff, people involved, fans, doing the activities. I'll have to, be running around the stadium, getting in different parts, introducing the fans into the stadium for the first game, as it is the season opener. Being on the same page with the DJ as well is going to be a big thing. It's going to be interesting. It's the things that I say on the microphone, I felt yesterday, like I'm clearly prepared to be talking on a microphone to this extent, but the overall operation is still extremely, extremely new to me, and I'm going to have to grasp that and learn how to work in that workflow and system of that game day atmosphere, because I just haven't done it very much, and when I have, it's been on the direct broadcasting and play-by-play sides of things rather than the operation of the event itself. So I'm excited for it. I mean, chatting with fans that are intoxicated, that are excited to be in there, it's going to be an interesting thing for me. I'm going to have to try to find those ways to be enthusiastic and loud and energetic, but also not be crazy and taking over the show in a negative way either. So finding that balance is going to be key. Getting comfortable to the I didn't want to put it like this, but there's not another way I can explain it. It's like you're acting, Matt. I know that at the end of the day, I want to be talking behind a microphone in sports in any kind of ways that I can going forward in my sports media career, and I enjoyed what I was doing yesterday, and I can't wait to get started with the Louisville Kings. And I don't even mean to sound like I'm saying this and there's some big but here. However, the aspect of putting on this tone and face and smile in these moments, it does a lot. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of brain power. It's not just talking on a mic and feeling a crowd out like a DJ and playing a song or something like that. I've got to find the moments to reiterate all of the content that I'm talking about and the sponsorships, and do it in an exciting way, and then also doing it in an interesting way because we're the Kings. So there's a lot of terms and phrases that we'll use that are specific to us that aren't necessarily natural in my sports talking everyday lifestyle. So just getting prepared and getting used to all that stuff. We'll have a walkthrough next week, so I'll get an actual practice session to kind of do these things in the Lynn Family Stadium setting before the game. So hopefully I get even more comfortable after that. It's fun, though. I'm excited. I'm hoping, Matt, that this is kind of like a way to get in with a little bit closer with the players, chat with them, maybe not necessarily become friends with them, but get to know them on a personal level, a first name kind of a level, and see if that can help us out with the three-man front. See if we can get some players on maybe in the summer after the season's over, just as special guests to come on and chat, because we will be continuing to chat about the Louisville Kings long after their season's over, before their second season does get started. So little things like that I'm going to be trying to do, help us out at the Big X and with the three-man front, and help my career out and get better at perfecting my craft.
I mean, that's the best part of having the guy inside, the guy behind the scenes. Is it's gonna benefit all three of us down the road, which we're all really excited for you. And you're right, there is a persona you have to put on when you're doing that. When you're on the radio, it's just your personality, right? You're letting your personality shine through. You do have to be a little more upbeat sometimes. You gotta have to put on a show for a little bit. But when you're in that kind of setting, it doesn't matter what's going on. You could have a really bad day, you got a really good day. You got to show the same amount of enthusiasm at all times. And when you're doing that for a while, for anybody that's had any job you ever do that, maybe you're in marketing, maybe you're in radio, maybe you're on TV, it's exhausting. That stuff it's not easy to go out there and put on, a really, tuned not just a happy face, but an excited face to get people, tuned in and get to people listening to you, especially because you're going to be doing it, during timeouts, half times, all that stuff, in a lot of the filler spots where people are going to be watching because, the game's not playing. So you're going to have eyes on you. It's going to be exciting to watch. I think we're all excited for the first game next week, and you're not going to do it out of some little bitty crowd. That place is sold out. So it's going to lead on. Our next question is what's I know Mike does the Roman confidence rating of 1 to 10. What's the Roman nervous rating for this first game, 1 to 10?
If 10's as nervous as I can be, and 0 is I know that I'm a pro and I'm the man for the job and I'm going to do perfect, I'm in like a strong 7.9.
Not to cut you off real quick, just a little quick update. Kentucky's down 70-68 with 30-something seconds left, and Santa Clara has the ball.
Just cut this on as you're saying that, as Santa Clara pulls up for a mid-range midi. They miss it, but Malachi Moreno is not able to come down with the rebound as that sails out of bounds. Like you just said, 39.6 seconds left. Santa Clara up 2 here on Kentucky, inbounding the ball underneath their own basket. Excited to see how this one ends. Looking like it's going to maybe bust a lot of brackets and help out a lot of brackets too, because there's a lot of picks on Santa Clara. The money I didn't get a chance to look into on the betting side of things as Santa Clara comes down in, puts it up, not able to get the basket to go as we are now under the shot clock time. Look, Kentucky looked like they came away with it, but then there was a battle for the loose ball. So, Garrison's trying to say that he got a timeout call before he lost it or after he regathered it. Santa Clara coach going crazy here, saying it was a loose 50-50 ball, should have been a jump ball spot. Owe had it. Owe actually looks like he had it the whole time, really.
Yeah, that's a decent timeout.
That's a looked like a fair timeout, actually, if I'm being honest there.
They're going to get the last possession of the game.
They are. Who's going to end their season? Whose bad shot's going to end their season, Matt?
Well, we already know the ball's either going to Otega Owe or Colin Chandler.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where if you're Santa Clara, you just face guard Colin Chandler and sit back on Otega Owe and force him to shoot.
Yep, let him get a long mid-range to contest it up. If he shoots the 3, you don't mind it with that terrible hitch in his jumper. The chances of him making that shot isn't very high. Yeah, but Owe is clutch, though. He's hit some clutch shots in these last 2 seasons for sure.
You just do not let Colin Chandler take it. That's the one guy on the floor. You force it to be a 2. You force overtime if you have to. You do not let Colin Chandler touch the ball.
No. I feel like Owe is going to dribble this out too long. Realize he's going to throw up a bad shot if he does so, and pass it to somebody with not enough time for them to get a good shot, and they're going to lose the game. Or Kentucky's going to get the whistle. They're going to tie the game up.
This is reeking of an Otega Owe and 1 right now because of a really bad foul.
I feel like it's reeking of an Otega Owe foul. Should have got the N1, didn't. In and out on the first free, or in and out and back in on the first free throw, and then he'll sink the second. They'll go to overtime. Knowing Owe, though, I've said their season's over. When I said those things, was it late November, early December, I was saying that. I did say they weren't going to make the tournament. I was wrong about that take. Season wasn't as over as I thought it was, as they were able to still go on and get some big wins and do enough for their resume to get into the tournament and stay in that tournament spot as a team that was ranked highly at the start of the season. They are down to the final possession here now. Owe quickly goes to Chandler. They run a play, give it back to Owe. Owe gets down low.
Finishes it. They get 10 seconds left.
Finishes it, but 10 seconds. Santa Clara has plenty of time here, and they've got 2 timeouts. I would call one, honestly. They don't.
Oh, my God, he made it.
3-pointer.
With 2.4 left.
Oh, my goodness. Santa Clara 3. Up 3, 2 seconds left.
He made it from half court.
Owe just tied the game from half court to send it into overtime. We have got absolute madness happening in the NCAA tournament Midwest first round region right now. Matt, I was completely wrong there in my overall prediction on what I thought was about to happen in this game, but this is definitely way, way, way better. I can't believe the Santa Clara swing player with his slow set shot got such a clean look and then sunk it, and then Owe with 2.9? 2.9 seconds, gets a shot up. Okay, let's the replay here out of his hands. That is good. That is clean. Off the glass from 2 steps inside of half court. Yep, literally 2 steps inside of half court. What would have been like the E in Madness if he was on the logo. Right next to the H. Basically, that was basically the H in March, just over to the left as Otega Owe knocks that down. I know this is a Louisville-based radio station, or a time slot on our station. But obviously, if the rival's playing, we're going to chat about it and give live updates on that. Mark Pope just throws the two arms up, gives the dap up to Owe there. Owe puts the finger down, saying that's good to go. They're going to overtime. Matt, who do we like in overtime?
I mean, after that, I'm going to have to say I like Kentucky in overtime. It's rare do you see things like that happen, and then especially the team forces overtime and then ends up not winning the game.
Yeah, doesn't feel like the basketball gods want them to lose this one right now with the way that this one started to unfold here. That's absolutely wild there. Wow, Santa Clara, Kentucky, going to overtime. My -2.5 is still alive technically, Matt. We haven't lost it yet here. As we finally have gotten some text in on the Gameday Men's Health text line at 502-414-1450. What a win, Texter says. So happy and proud of the whole team. What's the deal on KP? Has the rehab been that bad? Like, did he make a mistake with his rehab? He plays so different since the surgery and obviously isn't playing right now, but would have been helpful if he was even close to his old form. I like our chances versus Michigan State. Gonna be tough, but I really do believe we can do it. I mean, the case and prior injury has been an interesting one because it felt like the progress on him was a little bit later than normal. The extension on him getting back onto the floor was a little bit later than projected, and he hasn't gotten back to that first step in twitchiness that was known for at his size. One of his most valuable skill sets was his ability to move laterally on the floor at his size because of the matchups that he'll have on the floor and the matchup problems he would be able to create due to being able to dribble, being able to be out on the three-point line, also being able to do some things down in the paint, and ultimately being an overall good playmaker. You need your left knee for that. I'm going through the right knee thing. I'm not a college basketball player by any means at all, but I've been getting back into basketball, and I've noticed that like a lot of stuff, like I jump off my left leg when I go up for right-handed layups. A lot of the things that I do when I am going towards the rim, even just in my shoot around and stuff, I'm like, wow, this isn't bad. When it's the opposite, trying to go up for left-hand layups on my right knee, I'm not getting the same lift, and you have to be gingerish when you come down on it. He's on his left knee, and he's a right-handed player. So if it's not a lot of if it requires his left leg to be the main thing of his source of explosion and power, he just doesn't have it. He hasn't gotten it back. Texter also adds, same texter here, two also crazy, he had good minutes versus Duke round one and isn't getting now. I think you're using talk to text here, texter. Not coming through as clear as we need it to, but seems in good spirits with the team per the SI documentary. Yeah, if it's about prior, yes. I agree. Texter says here, with today being National Proposal Day, are you going to propose to Claudia and Holly today? Matt, you got a ring for Claudia. Or Paulina, your girlfriend's name is Claudia.
Yeah, I thought I was like, do you have two girlfriends? I'm not understanding.
Yeah, Claudia, my other girl, she doesn't deserve a ring. I'm just kidding. But Paulina is Matt's girlfriend's name, not Claudia. I guess I get where you're coming from with that. Not really. They don't sound alike. They kind of end the same there with the A sound and being just, names that aren't as common for the younger generation. But any chance you guys get married, Matt?
In the future, we will. We're at this moment, in my financial situation, not right now.
Not even a little bit. Yeah,
not even a little bit right now. But I do love the girl. At some point, we will.
So, yep, same here. Love Holly. Would love to marry her, but that's not, in my near future financially. As Kentucky goes up 2, Santa Clara comes back the other end, responds with the 3, and takes a 1-point lead. As we continue here looking at the Gameday Men's Health text line, Donut Factory guy here, glazing all of them after that first win. Wasn't perfect, but watching this team play together and being energy and cohesiveness was really refreshing. It feels like we can compete in any game with that level of energy. Little extra glaze for Rogers. When he dove over the 2 South Florida players to get a loose ball and tied up, I couldn't have been more hyped. It's been a really damn good 24 hours. Last thing I'll say about Michael, because he isn't a part of this team's legacy anymore, I bleeping hate that performative BS with wearing the back brace over his clothes. He didn't just have back surgery, and he isn't a 60-year-old man moving a couch. Officially my submission for CC Lee's Cool, MBJ's back brace. Looking forward to watching the rest of the team build the legacy tomorrow. Stay glazed, go Cards, end Izzo. as Kentucky reclaims their 1-point lead here. Matt, I'm not going to disagree with Donut Factory guy here on the back brace take. Like,
yeah, the back brace, it's become kind of a rough look.
You should be in recovery, in your medical process at all times that you're not on the basketball floor with your team supporting. And the fact that you feel like you need to show that you're doing something to get your back ready, no matter what, anytime the camera's on you in these game situations that you haven't been playing in, is very, very silly to me. We know that you're trying to recover from your injury. We know you're having back problems. Is the back brace, I know they have those heated back brace, is in the game, is it doing that much for you? I don't know. But it does feel tough to see it. It feels like it is a little bit performative. If it's a heated one that does something for him medically while he's playing, then so be it, right? At the end of the day, the kid trying to get to full health, no matter what, is his priority. And if he's doing that at all times, then that's what he's doing. Some other games in action right now. Arizona up big on Long Island. Texas Tech up 66-60 on Akron. UVA and Wright State have gotten things underway. Wright State up 24-23. And Matt, this was a ticket punch for me on the ticket punchers on Wednesday. I had Wright State plus 17.5, which very well may not cover, but I just didn't believe in this Virginia team. I know I'm kind of talking early here about what we're seeing in the score from that game because I haven't watched anything, but I won't be surprised if Wright State covers this plus 17.5. I feel like UVA is one of those overachieving 3 seeds. What do you think?
Yeah, I know that UVA has been, it's kind of the opposite of the Louisville team, where it seems like everybody in the media are putting UVA to be the surprise Elite Eight Final Four team, and it almost feels like a bad omen. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen them play. We know that they're good. I don't think they're the best team by any means. I think this is the first season under Ryan Odom, which has been fantastic for them. But I do feel like they're a little bit overachieving, and they're definitely on upset watch.
I think so for sure. They do reclaim the lead over Wright State 26-24, but I expect that first half to go back and forth if Wright State's been able to keep majority of this first half close and have some lead changes in that one. Matt, we come on to the outro of the show here. We had some picks that we gave out on Wednesday. I'll just go ahead and say I made an incorrect pick. I did have Atletico Madrid money line straight up over Tottenham, and I should have known better. With that big of an aggregate lead, you can lose that game and still advance to the next level. So at the end of the day, nobody getting injured was the priority, and just not allowing a 3-goal loss was the priority in that one. I knew not to take the under on the goals, but I still felt like that Atletico could get the job done in like a 2-1 spot, and they didn't, Matt.
No, I mean, you also got really unlucky in terms of Tottenham played their best game of the season by a mile. Like, it wasn't even – like, this team was attacking from the wings. They were attacking down the middle. They were getting behind, at Madrid's line pretty easily, almost at will, forcing corner after corner. And both – I mean, you got to think – I mean, both goals by Madrid in this game were, one-man mistakes where, like, this game could have been 3-0. And Tottenham would have had a good chance to come back. So you got pretty unlucky with that one. Believe me, I would have taken Tottenham every single day of the week.
Got a little unlucky. What was your pick from Wednesday?
I had Jerome Pierre Jr. getting 20+. He finished with 18. He finished right underneath where I need him to.
Tough one there. What do we like for tonight, Matt?
I got the Warriors spread in this game against the Pistons tonight, with Cade Cunningham going through his was it a collapsed lung he's having right now?
Yep.
That's a big offensive hit they're going to take. I know the Warriors aren't great this season, but I think it's going to be enough to at least keep the game close.
And it's funny, like all of a sudden with Tatum being back, collapsed lung for Cade Cunningham, D. Mitch dealing with the injuries he's dealt with, and alongside Jaren Allen as well, it feels like it's just like Celtics have no reason not to go to the finals now.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. Jason Tatum looks like he's almost up to full speed. He and Jaylen Brown look like they haven't even missed a step. They're definitely tuned up to be a possible favorite at this point.
I'm going to go with the Rockets money line over the Hawks straight up tonight. Kevin Durant playing. Sengun should be playing. Amen Thompson will be there. I think they'll have enough defensively to get over the Hawks. And if they, they're a little bit better on their home floor. I think that they should be able to score well after having a couple days off there. So give me the Hawks money line, Rockets money line straight up over the Hawks at 8 p.m. tonight. I'll give a second bet out as well, Matt. There's a play that I like on here. Iowa money line straight up over Clemson, 6:50 p.m. today. I think The Hawkeyes get the victory. This is going to wrap us up here on the Running with Roman show. Thank you all so much for tuning in and listening here today. Roman, Kelly, Matt Trotis, and thank you all for getting in on the Gameday Men's Health text line. Shout out to the podcast listeners as well. We'll have Mike Rutherford right after this break on the other side, 2:30 to 5:30 right here on the Big X, out at Everyday Concealed Carry. We'll this.
If you've been hurt in a car accident or hurt on the job, there's only one law firm to call. Call my friend Tony at the Collier Law Firm at 502-736-8141. Tony will get you paid. This guy used to work for the insurance company, so he knows the other team's playbook. Tony's a die-hard Cardinal fan. His family's from Portland and Shively, and he grew up in Fern Creek. With that combination, you know this man can fight and win. In an accident or hurt on the job, call Collier Law Firm. That's Colyer Law Firm. Call today. If you've been hurt in a car accident or hurt on the job, there's only one law firm to call. Call my friend Tony at the Collier Law Firm at 502-736-8141. Tony will get you paid. This guy used to work for the insurance company, so he knows the other team's playbook. Tony's a die-hard Cardinal fan. His family's from Portland and Shively, and he grew up in Fern Creek. With that combination, you know this man can fight and win. In an accident or hurt on the job, call Collier Law Firm. That's Colyer Law Firm. Call today.
Defining a new era in men's health, Gameday Men's Health delivers real results. No shortcuts. From testosterone replacement, weight loss, to peptides, vitamins, and sexual performance therapy, they will have you covered. From their in-house lab that gives you answers in just 15 minutes in our clinic that is designed for men who